Perfect. All right. Yes, so my name is Emily Vierling. Like Scott said, I've been working with him and Val Veers with Orca Sound for the past 9 months, aiming to create a humpback vocalization catalog for the inland waters of Washington. Oops, let's see. Just a little bit about me. I'm originally from Durango, Colorado, and I became interested in marine environments at a really young age. I think it was the foreignness because I lived in a landlocked state. And throughout my undergraduate career, I sought out internships and experiences relating to underwater acoustics, specifically working at Orca Lab with Dr. Paul Spong and his wife Helena Simmons in British Columbia. In 2021, I graduated from Colorado College with a degree in biology, and now I am currently a graduate student at the University of St. Andrews in the Master's in Science Marine Mammal Science program. So, as you all probably know, there has been an increasing number of humpbacks cited with each report in Haro Strait since 1975. This is when the Whale Museum started their humpback sightings archive. Specifically between 2000 and 2020, we're seeing an exponential growth in the humpback population since their extradition during the whaling era, which stopped around the 1960s. And it was safe to say that we did not expect them to return in these large numbers. So it's very exciting to see these humpback populations rebounding. So with these humpback populations rebounding at such a increased rate, it's really enriched the marine soundscape for community members and scientists who are listening via the Orca Sound Hydrophone Network in Washington. We're seeing an exponential increase in the number of bouts per year heard on the Orca Sound Hydrophone Network, specifically between 2018 and 2020. And most of the vocalizations observed are non-song vocalizations versus songs. Non-song vocalizations are pre-migratory vocalizations used in low latitude feeding grounds. Compared to songs, they're fairly unstructured. They don't have a lot of patterns in them, and they're fairly random. Whereas songs, you can detect 2 or more sequences, and they usually last quite a bit longer. So the problem faced with these emerging vocalizations is we basically were like, what do we do with these? How do we track them? So there was definitely a difficulty tracking and labeling humpback vocalizations due to the lack of a common nomenclature for these humpback populations along the West Coast. So at Orca Sound in 2021, Paul and Helena asked me to develop a non-song vocalization catalog, which I'm focusing on Orca Sound for this presentation, but it is a joint project with Orca Lab. So we sought out to develop a non-song vocalization catalog for community members and scientists alike to analyze pre-migration humpback bouts in the inland waters of Washington State and British Columbia. And we also wanted to provide an open source method to creating vocalization catalogs to share across scientific communities, specifically so these catalogs can be updated as more data comes in. So for the methods, step 1 was manually annotating acoustic recordings taken from Orca Sound Lab, Port Townsend, and Bush Point hydrophone locations during the 2020 and 21 seasons using Raven Pro version 1.6. And once that was finished, I isolated the 12 most common vocalizations amongst the annotations. This was for simplicity, and also so when we displayed it, it wasn't too overwhelming, especially for community members that wanted to listen and categorize the calls that they were hearing. Then I calculated summary statistics using the Tidyverse package in R. and develop spectrogram and waveform figures using the Librosim package in Python. I then adapted the latest Southern Resident Killer Whale catalog HTML5 and used that to showcase the different humpback vocalizations on the Orca Sound website. So these are the 12 most common vocalizations that were observed. We have the whoop, the grunt, ascending moan, descending moan, the moan, upsweep, trumpet, growl, creak, buzz, shriek, and chirp. And if you go onto the Orca Sound website and look up the Humpback project, you will be able to actually listen to these and hear what they sound like. So among these, the whoop and grunt vocalizations were the most abundant, both making up about 16% of the eligible selections out of the 12 most common calls. And the creak vocalization was the least abundant, only making up 2% of the eligible selections. But this is great because it tells us kind of what were the most common calls this season, and we can track those evolutions throughout the following years. So future uses of humpback non-song labels and annotations. So this catalog is publicly accessible, and community members and scientists can use them to track humpback non-song vocalization patterns and the evolution of them over the years. We really have a unique opportunity here because we are witnessing these vocalizations from the very beginning when it comes to this population, which really hasn't happened anywhere else. We can also use these annotations and labels to train automatic detection programs, specifically with Orca Sound, in order to accurately identify, sort, and label the acoustics without the need for laborious manual annotation. I'm sure many of you know how tedious that is and how much time it takes. It also gives us more of an opportunity to focus on the association of behaviors with certain vocalizations, which allows a deeper understanding of the social culture and structure within these populations of humpbacks. So the idea is, specifically with Orca Sound as well, Orca Sound community members who are listening to the hydrophone are able to actually insert what they are hearing. And so the idea is that they will be able to reference and learn from the humpback vocalization catalog what kind of sounds they're hearing during a humpback bout. And they can actually help us track which vocalizations are the most common. And it'll be put into a spreadsheet, and we can be able to track those over the years and look at the evolution. Right, so that's all I have for you today. Does anyone have any questions?